You're listening to the Godsense Show. I'm your host, Kalia the Queen. Godsense is about thinking, acting, and living on a higher frequency and moving beyond social norms and restrictions to live as our Creator intended, free, peaceful, and purposeful. Welcome to the show. Hi, everyone. We have a special guest today. We have Gloria Braxton, aka Glory B Arts. She is a watercolor specialist, and she's going to tell us all about the journey she went on to becoming an artist, because it wasn't that simple. And Glory B, let's go to you. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate this.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. Like, I love the whole pretense of your show and how it's like immediate opening up.
Yes.
And, it's good to be in tune with self, but it's good to express when you are in tune with self. So
Absolutely. So I wanted to just go back to, I was going over your profile and everything, and I saw that you didn't start really painting consistently until your grandmother passed away, like what, 12 or so years ago?
yeah, so we're approaching about 12 years since she's been gone. And before she passed, I was doing regular things that everybody else was doing. I was paying bills. I was living in Harlem. And I thought work and, doing the basic weekend things was life. Like I didn't have anything else. And when she passed, she was such a monumental person in my life that I immediately wanted to recreate her image.
Mhm.
I had to recreate her image, but I didn't know how to draw.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to paint. I didn't know how to do anything. So I remember starting my book collection, which is like so dear to me right now. My book collection is everything.
Mhm.
And reading about drawing eyes and drawing nose and her nose. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? So 6 months I studied drawing. And I was ready to draw her. And I started a drawing, and it wasn't enough pizzazz. Like she sang opera and she danced, and she liked when Michael Jackson's Thriller came on and she would do it.
Mhm.
And the drawing didn't give me spice at all. Like there was no spice to it.
Yeah.
So I looked up paints. And at that time, I'm living alone. I'm living check to check. I'm like, let me see what is the cheapest.
Mhm.
So I saw that watercolor was the cheapest medium to paint. But I didn't read or I didn't research that it was the hardest. So
Oh.
for years, I didn't know it was the hardest. So for another 6 months, I taught myself how to paint. So in a year, and I was on this journey and I didn't share it with a lot of people. I didn't share it with a lot of people because it was personal, and I wanted to honor my grandmother who sang her random opera in the house whenever she felt like it. And after a year, I sat down, and this particular instance always gets me emotional because it was like the end all be all day where now it's time. You study this water, this medium, this paint, this drawing, and it's all been for this. And I started crying. I'm like, I can't do this. This is wrong. And I remember being very emotional, it's like something opened within my soul, and I had to accept this gift. I had to accept that I need to do this,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna put these strong emotions in a little pocket, and I put them in a pocket, and I said, we're gonna get to work because we've been working at this for a year, and we're gonna get to work. And I painted her, and after the painting is when I opened the pocket back up, and I was able to feel the emotions again.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, like I did this, I was like, who did that? And I remember sharing it with my family and making copies for everyone, and everyone was blown away. Like, is this your first one? I'm like, yeah, this is my first one. And I made everyone copies in my family, and that was it. Like, it was the whole goal was to do this, and this is done. And I'm like, well, what do I do? What do I do now? And people at work would say, hey, did you ever finish your grandmother? And I'm like, yeah, I did. Let me show you. And I would show them. And at this time, we got like Blackberries. And we got these old school phones. But what's crazy is that people at work are like, hey, would you paint my wife?
Oh.
Would you paint my son? Would you paint my daughter? And all of a sudden, I got thrusted into a business, a painting business, like immediately. And I didn't stop. And it's been like that immediately ever since.
Well, the thing that stood out to me was you got this intuition about just having to honor your grandmother. And sometimes when we get those little voices, we ignore them like, I don't even know how to, like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. I'm just ignore it. But what do you think made you just go so hard to teach yourself to study art enough to finish it, taking a year like this dedication? Well, what was it that made you so dedicated?
I think that like her love was like undying, like the dedication to family was undying. Like my grandmother would wake up 4 a.m. and you'd hear starch spraying on my grandfather's clothes for work. 4 a.m. she was up ironing and making breakfast for him and drinks for him to take to work. And like the dedication that she constantly instilled in us, I had to do something. Like, what do you do to someone that lives life extraordinarily for their family, And I remember finding her photo album from high school right after she passed away. She wanted to be in the drama club. She wanted to be, she wanted to be an actress and all of these things related to the internet. I'm like, that makes sense. She had all of this spark, but you know what? She chose family. She chose us. So I felt chosen. I felt like one of the rare people in this world that got to know someone who exudes pure love. So how do you reward pure love? Like I had no idea. This was my way, and I could feel it. I could feel it because that type of love that mothers give, but grandmothers got something special in the sauce that her impact on me is forever. Like it's forever, and it sparked my entire life to change by accepting that, by honoring her. It changed my whole life.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you, like you said, you never painted before that, never drew before that?
Never painted. I never drew. Like I would grow up with my brothers, and my female cousin Ella would come over. And that was family life. I wanted to sing, with Ella, and we play and we dance, and I wanted to hang out with my brothers, but never drew. I never drew. My mom put me in dance, and I hated it. I was like, I don't want to do dance school. And I've always been eccentric. I've always had like a charismatic energy about me, but I never drew. So here I am at 22, picking up these pencils like, oh, this is shading. And oh, wow, there's so many different types of eyes. And I love the fact that we are all so unique. That I started to see the beauty in people and look at people differently. Like I never looked at them before. All of a sudden, everybody was paintings. Everybody was something to draw, something to create. And I'm happy. I'm happy I didn't have that as a kid, because the way it sparked in my life, it was like hot fire. It was supposed to ignite all at once. And that's why I loved how it was introduced to me.
So after everyone started asking you to create pieces for them, how did you make the transition from working your job to becoming a full-time artist?
So I've done both. I've worked 16-hour days doing both, because the way that I felt about my grandmother, I had to do it. It was a form of therapy for me. And then giving it to my mom and her putting it right up and being happy about seeing her mother's face and, having those experiences. I said, I have to do this for people. It became this wanting to make sure that other people got this therapy. Like, hey, I just found out this secret to being more comfortable, not quite completely healing, but being more comfortable when our loved ones pass away. Or I had a mom that I did a portrait for who had real fertility issues, real fertility issues. And when she finally had a baby, she's like, Gloria, I want to share my story with you. I want you to paint my daughter. She's 1 and she's my life. And I've had so many disappointments for her. Can you do this? And it's like all of a sudden you start to realize that we need reminders, and art is not just there for an aesthetic in the home, but it is there to help us remind us of how we've been blessed, and these important things. I love to be a part of it. I love it. It's amazing for me.
I've noticed you mainly focus on people. Is there a reason for that?
Oh, people are amazing. Like, so we all carry auras. We all carry auras, and we all reflect differently with paints. When I first started, and it was about my grandmother, I realized I had a niche for getting that special thing about people. Like when you look at I paint my grandmother every 3 years now. Every 3 years, I have a different painting of my grandmother because I want to, keep it going and keep honoring her and throwing that energy out there. But what happens is, as we are and as we're living, not often do we celebrate. We kind of get caught up in nature and in life. I'll let other artists do the landscapes and do all of those beautiful things. I want to highlight human beings. I want you to look at their faces and be able to tell, hey, this person works hard, or this person cares about their family, or this is a funny person and you got them dead on. Like, I want you to be able to feel our auras through the art. And I think that's my strong suit, to get that expressionism out of people.
Yes. I was reading that you donate art to people who have lost a family member.
Oh, yeah. So in this journey, it hasn't just been about business. It's really been about touching people. And I'll read an article in the paper, like I have. There was a young lady that passed away at Antigua Carnival. And she was only 25, I believe, when she passed away. Young girl, beautiful girl. And I had to paint her. So she was in mask completely, and she had the feathers coming off of her, and it was beautiful green and gold. And she looked so stunning. And I said, her family needs to be made aware of this smile, this type of energy, because she's gone now. And I was able to paint this beautiful painting for her family. And I found them. I put it out there, hey, if anybody knows anybody. And I know someone that knew her father and her brother. And getting the painting to them was a beautiful experience. Like, I wasn't there. I'm not usually there when things get delivered, but to know that they got it and they reached out to me and they said, thank you, that makes it bigger than me. Like, it's bigger than me. So if I have this gift, I have to use it like that. I have to. Like, without God giving it to me and my grandmother, putting this energy into me, I don't know where I would be. So I need to get back.
I saw you did a video and you were talking about the fact that when you started creating art, you had a little trouble calling yourself an artist, and that confidence wasn't there. How did that develop?
Oh my goodness. So spending time with artists and artists who call themselves artists and look like artists. I joined Fulton Art Fair, and like, my experience with the organization, they're one of the oldest Black art groups in Brooklyn. And 61 years that they've been around, and there's a community there. There's a family there. And when people see your work, we uplift each other. There's something about our culture where we're so uplifting, and we're making sure that we add that, you got this, girl, like, you better got it. And I love that. Those affirmations in our culture is just so unique to us. But being around other Black talented artists, like Violet Chandler and Alethea Sapp Jimenez, she's amazing. Yeah. And being in that setting, it's like, hey, you need to call it what it is. Like, you are, not only am I an artist and I can say it and lift my head up now and feel it, but I have a torch now. There's a responsibility with it. My art is important to the times. What I'm creating and highlighting is very important. So I'm using my voice now, but to find the voice was beautiful. And now using the voice is like being on this beautiful ride. You don't know where it's going to go, but you don't want to get off. That's where I am.
That's amazing. So, like at this point in your career, you've been painting for over 12 years. How could you say you've manifested from the beginning until where you are now and to where you see yourself going?
Oh my goodness. I see myself affecting more lives, teaching more, because I volunteered at places, but I really want to get out in the community and just like throw some easels up and let people find healing and therapy through the art. I see that based on the type of work that I've done and with social issues in my paintings and, you know, making sure that people realize they aren't forgotten. I use that voice way more importantly than ever before. And I see that voice getting bigger. And I want the world to see my art. I want them to feel my figures. I want them to know that when I'm creating, it's intentional. It's intentional art to be shared and to make sure that a lot of different groups of people understand that they're not alone, whether it's the college girl in school for the first time alone, or whether it's, you know, a young kid dancing Afro beats and they think that no one in the world is watching them do their dance that they take pride in. I paint you. I honor you. There's ways to honor people. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Wow. I love that so much. And I was going to ask you before what kind of work you did, because you just sound so empathetic. Like you just feel the energy and you just pull it and just recognize it.
Yeah, it is knowing what to create. Like I have paintings in my head that I have to create. And you can't rest till you get it out. Like when all of the protests first started, this go around in particular, I realized that there's a whole group of college kids that are not getting their experience. They're not getting their initial college experience. So they're in the midst of a pandemic, social injustices, all of these different things happening. So I started to paint HBCU paintings. Because I'm like, I want to lift these kids up.
Yeah.
Even if it's a young guy reading a book or a young lady reading books. And I want to uplift them because you have to know what people are experiencing and then use your tools. Watercolor is my tool. I'm a watercolorist. I don't paint in anything else. But when I tell people that, when they see how realistic my artwork is, they're like, wow, is that watercolor? And they're like, it's so difficult. But imagine not knowing something was difficult and then mastering it. That's where I'm at. I didn't know that, and now it's like, this is what I do. I wouldn't do anything else.
If you could give advice to anyone in a position where they're trying to figure out what their thing is, but they might not have gotten there yet, what would you say?
Try, experiment. Don't be afraid to go ahead and make those small investments. You know, don't be afraid to try, because I was painting my grandmother was a thought. I could have left it at the thoughts.
Yes.
For me, it was the action. It was putting action to these thoughts that's manifested my life to affect over 300 people with paintings in homes all over the US at this point. It's a matter of trying for you, knowing that whatever it is you want to do, add to that. Motivate yourself, be kind to yourself, and try it and make it okay. Make it okay, whether it goes your way or it doesn't. You tried. That's what has to be put out there. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and I didn't know how this was going to turn out. You know, I didn't know. I just did it, and I left that pressure off of me. So try and be kind to you.
I love that. You mentioned about the Fulton Black Art.
Fulton Art Fair.
Fulton Art.
Yeah, Fulton Art Fair.
At what point in your paintings did you get involved with them, and what other communities have you gotten involved in that encouraged you in that way to keep on painting and just maybe grow your art another way?
That's so good. So I got involved with Fulton Art Fair after I was about 5 years in, I believe, in the process. And with them, like knowing and tapping into other artists that are doing what you're doing, all of a sudden I got tapped into doing all types of events. I ended up doing an exhibit at Adam Clayton Powell building in Harlem, and I loved it. I loved it. I had a Louis Armstrong painting that it took me 50 hours to do, and when I did it, I never know what's going to happen, where I'm going to exhibit, but all of a sudden, in exhibiting in Harlem, now you got the Harlem art community. Yeah. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is not like Brooklyn. Like, this is different, you know? And I enjoyed that too. Like, I love Brooklyn. There's something in the Harlem sauce that the Harlem art world is filled with so much abundance and so much energy and meeting so many people. What I've realized by being open. So I read Shonda Rhimes' book, Year of Yes.
Yes,
Oh my goodness, like that had a profound effect on me because I'm nice. So sometimes you have to say no, but I learned to say yes to opportunities of art. So I remember being asked to, and then randomly being asked to do things and saying yes because it was right for me, knowing what's right for you. So by being in Fulton Art Fair and getting comfortable with exhibiting, all of a sudden people would hit me up for events. And I remember being asked to do Senator Comrie from Queens, his portrait.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, like, can you do it? And I remember having 13 or 12 days. I had like 12 days to make a painting for Senator Comrie, and they were going to surprise him with it at his birthday bash.
Wow.
So this was like a ball, a gala, and it gotta be right, and you got 12 days. So it came out amazing. Senator Comrie is so cool. Like, he is legit cool, and he's about community. So I felt that we were very similar, you know, and what he's done, his work is exceptional. But in saying yes and in agreeing to things like Fulton Art Fair and being a member and traveling and exhibiting, you meet so many people, and you start to be a part of experiences of positive people that they're already working on. So now all of a sudden you're building how you're connecting to people. And that, I think that has been the most profound thing, is that I'm always building on my experience. I'm always networking and meeting wonderful people, and they get to see my art or own a piece of my art, and they'll say, random texts are the amazing thing. Like, I'm just looking at my painting. Thank you. Oh. Like, that lights my life.
Love that. Can you explain your creative process? How do you get in the space to create? Because you mentioned one piece took you over 50 hours to create.
Oh yeah, that was my Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong decided to visit Harlem, and he bought these saxophones, and he let the kids practice with him. Like, just randomly bought saxophones out and was, you know, in the community. And I can do 50 hours like that. For someone that does that for people, I can do that without a problem for 50 hours. But the process is in tapping into, sometimes I want to know my figures and sometimes I don't. Just because the picture can speak to you. The picture can speak to you, and honoring them. Keeping the vibe about it. I'll play jazz. I'll play all types of jazz music, and that'll get the literal vibes in the air. Tea is a part of it. I'll have my tea going, and centering myself and reminding myself that I am a creator. I do affirmations before I do my artwork, because each painting needs to have the same quality. So that's important to remind myself I'm a creator. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be beautiful. and they're gonna love you, you're gonna love like that's and I dive in and I swear each time that I'm done, I'm like, oh, I'm done, and then it's the next one.
Oh wow, that is so beautiful. Like if you from what kind of work did you say you did before? You said you've done other things. Like what kind of
you mean as far as work job?
Yeah,
I worked for the government. I was in training. I was in training for the government.
okay.
Yeah, and I did that for a while. Again, that's people. So that's people also. So I actually got really high up in positions and realized that I want to focus on the art. I want to focus on the art. I don't want to teach. I want to, if I'm going to teach anything, it has to be about the art. So my ultimate goal is I really want to make a center, an art center, because we're not focused on the arts as much in the communities anymore. But it's so healing. It's so healing, and put some paint in the kids' hands and see how crazy it gets, and see how the time flies, and you're creating memories with the youth. So the goal is to paint, to create the center. So we'll see how it goes. I feel good about how things manifest for me. Things work out for me. So I'm going to keep painting, keep sharing, and then I'll get the center.
Absolutely. Like just what you've shared so far is just such an amazing reminder just to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And trust the things that really come to you.
Absolutely. Like when I think about my turn, because it was a turn, it was a shift. When I think about the shift in accepting something new with art, I think about how I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to buy. I remember buying paint for the walls, like, do I use this? And not knowing, and Google wasn't popping back then. And I remember my mom saying, no, there's an art store. I was like, oh, duh. Go to the art store. And actually from scratch, my mom bought me my first paint set at 20 something. So just imagine getting that and doing that. And then now I've painted her, which she thinks is crazy to look at, to get to a place where you can say, that we all have life events, we all have these things which we might struggle through, but when you find something that's your passion and you can share it, it trumps anything else in life. Like
absolutely, because it's like the doors just seem to just open the minute you stepped into that space and you weren't thinking anything would have happened. It's amazing.
I didn't think anything. I didn't think people would trust me with painting their children, or painting themselves, or painting someone who raised them that wasn't related to them and that they missed their face. I remember when my dad passed in 2015, and I had to organize his funeral, and I said, I have to paint him. I have to paint him. Like, this is what I do. But it was from a different place. It was like, I have to paint my dad. So in 4 hours, I painted my dad. That's super, super quick. But when I painted him, it looked so much like him. I was thrown. I'm like, wow, that's my dad. I'm gonna put this in the living room. And I remember bringing it to the funeral and everyone feeling so good about the painting. Like, wow, like that's your dad's energy. Like, whoo, that's him. And it was from such a different place seeing it. I do it with people all the time. I have clients all the time and I gift paintings. But when you experience something that you've done within yourself, it taps in differently. You start to realize that when we have these gifts, to use them is what they're for. Like, don't be afraid to start your podcast. Don't be afraid to put the paint on the canvas. Like, don't be afraid.
Yes. Don't be afraid. You're like dropping so many little gems, and
because I'm serious. I'm so serious. I'm serious about this.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself trying any other medium other than watercolors?
So, what I do see, let me say this, because I love my watercolor. Like, we're married.
Uh-huh.
I was one of the artists that did the Black Lives Matter mural in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So doing the Brooklyn with all of those artists and led by Dawood West, and seeing Dawood, his first of all, his resume is crazy. He has so much experience, but seeing him direct and create and have all these people assist, it was a beautiful thing to watch for a mural. Like, watching that whole creative process was wonderful, and it was healing. And something about the paint being on the ground. Like, when people pray, they pray from the floor. So it's like there's an energy when you're low. So the fact that the Black Lives Matter is on the ground where people could sit and commune and be there, I said, I think I need to get into mural art. So yeah, I would love to study. I think that's a part of the journey somehow. Like, I would love to see myself in 20 years, but I think that's a part of the journey, because I got so much out of the mural process and muraling that I would definitely do that type of artwork, get into it, study it, really understand, because this is science. It's a science when we see those large murals and how people get them dead on, and you can feel the energy from a wall of a supermarket. Like, that's insane. I would love to do that. That would probably be the only medium outside of my watercolor that I would do.
Love it. I'll be excited to see it. I'm like, I remember I interviewed her when she was 12 years in.
And this is the first interview where I said I want to get into mural art. So hold on to this.
Here first.
Yes, I'm serious. I can't wait. I have a friend that's open to showing me, so that I can be excited, because I love, first of all, rocks, the earth. Yeah. So it's very similar to water. It's from the earth still, and these things hold energy, and I love that. I love that energy goes into water, energy goes into rocks. So getting into that would be another part of my personal spiritual journey, with knowing how things carry energy. That would be like the topping on, I'm telling you, on the cake.
Oh, love it. And I just want to get into what you just said about your own internal spiritual energy, because I'm a big believer in energy, and just the way things manifest and things are attracted to you and repelled from you. How do you like hone your energy and either increase it, repel things, attract things? How do you tap in yourself?
So I listen to my spiritual self. There's a lot that happens as we grow, that we have to listen more to our instincts. I think human beings, I read something that human beings are the only people that don't listen to gut instinct, the only beings that don't listen to gut instincts. Like, frogs will feel it and frogs will run, and a lion will feel it and a lion will run without seeing anything, but human beings will feel it and stay, and we'll experience some real trauma because we didn't listen to our gut instinct. And the gut is spirit, like the gut itself. So when I'm experiencing life, with discovering the art, right, with discovering painting and looking at facial features of persons, looking into them, I literally started to look into myself. I started to feel closer to me and learning me each time. Each time I was painting, I was challenging myself. So all of this time, I thought I was regular. I'm a girl. I'm a regular girl from Brooklyn. No, I'm not. I'm a creator. I'm spiritual. I understand myself. I understand that listening to myself is saying, I need peace right now, or I need to meditate, or music would be healing to me. I've had a long day, or I need stillness. I just need to be still. I don't need anything else. But when you have a lot of things around you that don't correlate with what your instinct says, your body says to rest, but you still go out. Your spirit says to do something, play music, or drink tea, and you still don't hone in that energy to yourself, I believe that's when it gets twisted with how the energy you put out. Because you're not listening. It's simple, and we don't make it that simple. You know, we complicate it. Listening to me, knowing me, honing me has been the journey also. Because I'm like, oh, I gotta listen to myself. I'm done with this painting. It's finished. And I've done that. I just, in mid-stroke, I've stopped painting at the end and said, it's done. It's done. It's over. I'm good.
That's so simple, but so poignant. Because for me, there's so many things, like, I have these ideas and like I have so many perfectionist ways. I'm like, no, it could be better in this way, it could be better in this way. Instead of just letting go and just trust in myself and stop putting additional pressure on it.
You have to stop that pressure. But books have helped me. Books, I have a group of friends where we talk about all types of topics. That helps as well. Listening to other people's perspective of life, because we're all living. And sometimes we're so caught up in our lives that we don't see how other people are doing the life thing. Paying attention to other experiences can help us. But for me, it was like, hey, I want to be stronger. I remember at one point I was too nice, you know, and I needed to understand myself. Hey, saying no to them is a yes to me. You're tired, go home, you know. You don't want to live and make choices for others. You have to know, what do I really want? You have to learn that. What makes me happy? What are the small things that I get so much joy out of? I could jump for joy if I do it, and it's the silliest thing in the world. And knowing that, and it always changes. I might like boxing today, and I might do something else tomorrow, but knowing those things bring me joy. Allows me to constantly fill myself, knowing what I need to create, knowing the people that need to be around me. Little things that make me happy that I keep doing for myself is me learning me and sharpening that self-appreciation.
That's like so great, especially with what has been happening with the quarantine, the protests, the shootings. A lot of people get lost up in things in the world and forget themselves. So that's such an amazing point that you just made.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's easier to love others, you know. It's easier to love others. Sometimes it's easier to create art for others, you know. Just do portraits on commission forever. But when you sit there and you pay attention to yourself, it's like, hey, how do I love me? How do I create for me? We have to ask the hard questions, because life is not going to come easy to us. We're going to be challenged. Some days are going to be really rough. We're going to lose good people for no reason. You have to be able to be so strong within yourself and to know that it's okay to let go sometimes and cry and be emotional, that we have to care for ourselves. Just like how we do children. Just like how we do our friends, we have to do that with us, nurturing and hug ourselves, you know?
Absolutely. Something that it just occurred to me, the way you mentioned the passing of people in your life, like your grandmother and your father. It didn't seem, I'm certain you're sad, but just the way you turned it around into this healing place instead of this hurting place. Girl, how do you do that?
There's
a magical thing.
It's not magic. So there is an acceptance, right? The best way to describe it is finding closure on your own. You know, like when we have relationships, sometimes you don't get the conversation. I feel like things happen in our experience where you're not going to get the conversation. Things are going to happen, and you are going to have to figure out a way for you to be okay. It might be the worst things in the world, but how do I nurture myself? I had to find out what works for me. I had to find out how can I make it okay that my father is gone. Then I started to, I had something I said when a friend's parent passed away that I started replaying it. It was like, feel the love from when they were here.
Mm.
I was like, oh, I remember my dad would dance at the barbecues, and he hit the ground with this corny hit, and they come back up, and that was feeling the love. So if we operate from a love place, even loss, we'll still feel love. Even losing my grandmother, operate from a love place. I can remember what her grits taste like, and I can remember how she never got angry with me in my whole life, and feel the love. If I focus on the experiences that I did have with them being gone is not them being gone. You know, it's like them being with me. So handling traumas, handling loss, handling failures if something doesn't work out, I'm going to tap into when things do work out. I'm going to build on that. I'm going to say it's okay and be okay with me. And that way, that playing field that I'm operating on that feels better, I can handle life at that place, you know, and actually believe it. Like, believe that I'll be fine. Not feed it to myself, but believe it.
Yes. I love that so much. And my final question for you. So your name is Gloria Braxton. So
Yes.
What made you decide to go with Glori B?
Glori B. So, my cousin Ella is amazing, right? She makes jewelry, she raps, she's a mom, she's amazing. And I remember saying, the Braxton family is too famous, they're gonna kill me in the art world. I don't know how I'm gonna individualize myself. And we sat down and she came up with Glori B for me. It's like glory be to God. Glori B is it's just my art self. It allows someone to come in knowing me as Glori B and really get this introduction. You know, it's like a part of me. So I loved it. I love how it can be, it's just a little snippet, but it's one of the most important pieces of Gloria Braxton that exists right now. And holding that and being so close to the name, like, I love it. I love that it's me. And it's like a better part. I love it.
Thank you so much. Everyone, please go to gloribeart.com and her Instagram. Can you say your Instagram, please?
So my Instagram is glorib.art. So glorib.art. And gloribeart.com is, I have a little blog on there that I write about some of my pieces because oh my gosh, I love writing about my art. So every time I post what the painting is about. So I give away the secret.
Love it. So go check her out. Look at her art, buy some art, support her. And all the best to you as you continue growing. And I'm excited to see when you get to this mural phase. I'll still be following and watching you. And thank you so much for taking this time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for sharing the vibes.
Thank you so much.
Stay blessed and free your minds. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Kalia the Queen, and this is a Godsense Show. Take care of yourselves. Connect with me on Instagram at Godsense Show. Comment, like, and share. Don't forget to subscribe, download your favorite episodes, and share.